Picture this. Lightning crackles through the Chancellor's office as Mace Windu's purple blade reflects Palpatine's fury. Anakin Skywalker stands at the crossroads of destiny. But in this reality, something changes. A memory flashes. Qui-Gon's words about living in the moment, Obi-Wan's lessons about patience, Padmé's unwavering faith in democracy. In this reality, the Chosen One chooses differently. And what happens next? Well, that's where our story really begins. In the fading light of democracy, as shadows lengthen across 1,000 worlds, the galaxy holds its breath. The Clone Wars, orchestrated from the very seat of power, have brought the Republic to its knees. But in this darkest hour, destiny hangs upon a single choice. Coruscant gleams in the dying light, its endless towers catching the last rays of day. But high above the eternal city, in chambers where democracy itself holds court, darkness has finally shown its true face. Master Mace Windu, blade ignited in deadly purpose, stands before the revealed architect of galactic suffering. Chancellor Palpatine, his grandfatherly mask stripped away, radiates the ancient malice of the Sith. But it is neither of these masters whose choice will shape the future. Through the halls of power walks Anakin Skywalker, each step an eternity. Within his mind, the Force itself seems to pause, showing him not what might be, but what has been. The desert winds of Tatooine whisper his mother's wisdom of letting go. Qui-Gon Jinn's gentle teachings echo through time, Obi-Wan's patient guidance, and Padmé, her love not a chain but wings, teaching him that attachment need not lead to possession. The moment crystallizes. Anakin's blade ignites, not with the passion of fear, but with the clarity of understanding. The dark side offers power without price, but at last he sees the true cost, everything that makes power worth having. Darkness erupts in lightning and rage. Palpatine, no longer containing his true nature, unleashes power that threatens to shatter the office itself. But he faces something unprecedented, Jedi fighting in true harmony. Windu's mastery of Varpad meets Anakin's raw power, light and dark flowing together in perfect balance. The battle transcends physical combat. Each strike carries the weight of prophecy. The Force itself seems to surge through the chamber, light pushing back shadow. Palpatine's lightning, born of hatred and fear, meets the combined strength of wisdom and compassion. In the final moment, it is not power that decides fate, but understanding. The Chosen One fulfills his destiny not by domination, but by choice. The Sith Lord's own darkness returns to consume him, and 1,000 years of shadow finally face the light. Across the stars, change ripples outward like waves in the Force. On 100 worlds, clone troopers stop mid-stride as hidden commands fade to nothing. The chips buried in their minds, meant to turn them against their Jedi allies, go silent. In the depths of space, droid armies suddenly lose their dark purpose. In the Jedi Temple, younglings remain safe in their beds, the future once again bright with possibility. The Senate, that great chamber of democracy, erupts in chaos as truth emerges. Palpatine's grand design, his manipulation of both Republic and Separatists, comes to light. But in this chaos lies hope, the chance to rebuild not just the Republic's structures, but its very soul. Within the ancient halls of the Jedi Temple, change begins immediately. The Council, so long blind to the darkness within their rigid codes, sees with new clarity. Anakin Skywalker stands before them, not as a failed experiment in their traditions, but as living proof that compassion and power need not stand apart. In the quiet of evening, Padmé Amidala receives the news not as a senator, but as a wife no longer forced to hide in shadow. Her faith in both democracy and love vindicated in a single moment of choice. Obi-Wan Kenobi, in peaceful meditation, feels the lifting of a burden he has carried since taking on a young slave boy from Tatooine. His apprentice has become more than a Jedi. He has become the change the Order itself needed. As evening settles over Coruscant, the galaxy draws its first free breath in decades. Within the Jedi Temple, change already stirs in halls that have known only rigid tradition. Master Yoda sits alone in the council chamber, his ancient eyes seeing not just what is, but what must be. The choice made in the Chancellor's office has set greater changes in motion. The Force whispers of transformation to come. Through the temple's ancient corridors, Anakin Skywalker walks with his former master. Their steps echo differently now, not as master and apprentice, but as equals. Both sense that tomorrow will bring a temple they hardly recognize, and both welcome it. Night falls on the first day of a new era. But in the quiet hours before dawn, as the city planet sleeps, the Force itself seems to stir with anticipation, for the true transformation has yet to begin. In these darkest hours before dawn, when change feels most possible, the Force flows with renewed purpose through the ancient halls of the Jedi Temple. Here, in chambers that have stood unchanged for a millennium, the first light of transformation begins to shine. As morning light touches the temple spires, it illuminates an order poised between what was and what could be. Within these walls, Master Yoda has spent the night in deep meditation, reaching a conclusion that will reshape the galaxy. The ancient master rises from his vigil, wisdom earned over centuries leading him to understand. The Order must change, not because it has failed, but because it has succeeded in ways its old structures cannot contain. Dawn breaks over a temple that will never be the same. The choice made yesterday in the Chancellor's office was but the first step. Now, in the clear light of morning, the true transformation begins. In the Grand Chamber, before the assembled masters, Yoda rises. His small frame carries the weight of centuries, but his eyes shine with certainty. The time has come, he knows, for the Chosen One to forge a new path, not as a reluctant rebel against tradition, but as the architect of the Order's future. The transition of power bears little resemblance to ceremonies past. There is no formal ritual, no ancient words. Instead, Yoda simply steps aside, allowing Anakin Skywalker to step forward. In this gesture, more profound than any ceremony, the Order begins its transformation. The temple itself becomes a reflection of change. Ancient meditation chambers, once reserved for solitary contemplation, now welcome families seeking understanding together. In the gardens where younglings once trained in isolation, new methods take root. Training grounds echo with new sounds, clone veterans sharing battle wisdom alongside Force techniques. The Jedi Code, unchanged for a millennium, finds new voice. There is no emotion, there is peace becomes, through understanding emotion, we find peace. There is no ignorance, there is knowledge transforms to, through seeking knowledge, we banish ignorance. Each line evolves, acknowledging not the denial of self, but the mastery of it. The waves of change reach beyond the temple walls. In the Senate, where corruption once festered in darkness, light now penetrates every chamber. Padme Amidala, standing not just as a senator, but as a Jedi's wife, leads the creation of new transparency laws. Former separatist worlds, their strings to darkness cut, find welcome in a changed republic. Trade routes reopen, not under the grip of guilds and federations, but with new protocols ensuring fairness. Systems that once sought to leave now help forge stronger bonds, their voices finally heard in the chambers of power. Within the temple's residential wings, another revolution unfolds. Anakin and Padme's quarters become a symbol of integration, a space where Jedi wisdom and Republic leadership intertwine. Their love, once hidden, now lights the way for others to follow. Obi-Wan Kenobi, freed from the burden of perceived failure, flourishes in his role as bridge between old and new. His wisdom helps temper change with tradition, finding balance between preservation and progress. The archives, under his guidance, expand to include knowledge once forbidden, now studied with understanding rather than fear. The temple grounds, once austere and separate from the city around them, open select spaces to the public. Citizens of Coruscant walk gardens once reserved for Jedi alone. Understanding grows between Force users and those they serve, replacing mystery with mutual respect. As evening falls on this new era, Anakin Skywalker stands in the temple's highest tower. Below, the city pulses with renewed hope. But above, in the darkness between stars, something stirs. The Force whispers warnings of ancient powers awakening, drawn perhaps by the very light now shining so brightly across the galaxy. The true test of this transformed order approaches, not from the darkness they have overcome, but from something far older and far stranger. For in extending their understanding beyond traditional boundaries, the Jedi have caught the attention of forces that dwell in the spaces where the Force itself grows quiet. The light of transformation that now illuminates the galaxy casts new shadows, deeper than any the Sith could create. As Anakin Skywalker stands in the temple's highest tower, the Force itself trembles with warning. For in the spaces between stars, ancient eyes have opened, drawn by the very changes that have brought such hope. Night deepens over Coruscant, but within the Jedi Temple, none find rest. In meditation chambers throughout the ancient structure, Force-sensitive beings of all ages awaken from the same dream. A vision of stars going dark, one by one, as something vast and cold watches from the void. Through the temple's great doors walks one who has seen the first signs. Ahsoka Tano, her experience etched in her montrals, brings disturbing news from the unknown regions. The Force investigators she leads have discovered ancient temples older than the Republic itself, their walls marked with warnings about beings that existed before the Force. Deep in the expanded archives, where both light and dark knowledge now resides, patterns emerge. Obi-Wan Kenobi and a team of scholars piece together fragments of prehistory. They find tales of a time before the Force, when other powers held sway over the galaxy, powers that viewed the Force itself as an invasion of their domain. The evidence builds. Star maps showing impossible void zones where the Force cannot reach, artifacts that resonate with energies neither light nor dark, and cave paintings from 100 worlds all showing the same haunting symbols, a galaxy without stars, watched by eyes older than time. The Jedi Council, transformed from its rigid past, faces a threat its new flexibility may not be enough to counter. Reports flood in from across the galaxy, clone outposts falling silent, star systems experiencing moments of complete Force blindness, and ancient Sith holocrons activating of their own accord, their dark knowledge seeming almost benign compared to what approaches. Throughout the temple, preparation takes on new forms. Clone veterans and Jedi Masters collaborate on defense strategies against an enemy that exists outside the Force itself. In training grounds, Jedi learn to fight without their greatest ally, preparing for moments when the Force might desert them. The Senate, led by Padme Amidala, coordinates a response that would have been impossible in the Old Republic. Former separatist worlds unite with Republic forces, pooling resources and knowledge. The divisions healed in recent years now serve to strengthen the galaxy against an external threat. Beyond the outer rim, in the black between galaxies, something vast stirs. Not a fleet, not an army, but a presence that remembers when the Force was new, when it first entered a universe that belonged to older powers. In the Chamber of Balance, Grand Master Anakin Skywalker meditates on a future clouded not by darkness, but by absolute void. The Chosen One, who brought balance to the Force, now faces the possibility that balance itself might not be enough. Throughout the temple, final preparations accelerate. Jedi ready themselves for a conflict unlike any in their training, and in the deepest meditation chambers, the oldest masters search for wisdom in dealing with powers that predate their oldest traditions. But even in this brighter timeline, shadows lurk. Deep in the unknown regions, something stirs. The dark side, though weakened, isn't defeated, and as Anakin stands at the temple's highest point, watching the Coruscant sunset, he feels it, a disturbance in the Force, unlike anything he's ever encountered. The real test of the new Jedi Order isn't in its creation, it's in what's coming next. If you've enjoyed this journey through an alternate Star Wars timeline, there are more untold stories waiting to be discovered. Join our growing community of Star Wars enthusiasts who believe in exploring these what-if moments that could have changed the galaxy far, far away. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and activate notifications to catch our next alternative Star Wars story. Each tale offers a new perspective on the characters we love and the choices that define them. Remember to share your thoughts in the comments below. What other pivotal moments in the Star Wars saga would you like to see explored differently? Your ideas might inspire our next adventure. May the Force be with you, always.